Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much, Loni Love, for taking this time with me to be on my podcast. What
Right.
did you do for your morning workout?
Well, I have a treadmill. It's after award season, so I'm trying to get back in shape after all the celebrations and stuff. So I've committed myself to, getting up in the morning and at least getting some type of a workout.
Yeah, you get it, girl. And I'm gonna run the treadmill tonight, so you're gonna motivate me.
Good, good. My
Um,
doctor says anything. If you do 20 minutes, that's like at least that's 20 minutes. So anything helps.
so I did see that you covered the Oscars, which you do year after year. Compared to the previous years, was the vibe and energy different this year because what we've been seeing? Because, our year 2025 hasn't been starting all that great politically and with the fires that happen.
Yeah, I think that it was a different type of energy for sure, Giselle, but I think that it felt more energetic. It felt like people were just trying to escape and get away from, all that's happening outside of the world. And they just immersed themselves. People were happy, people were on time. People that normally wouldn't stop and talk and have a conversation, we're having conversations. So it's a different type of energy that's happening right now, I think.
Oh, that's really good. And I feel like movies, concerts, we kind of need that break from the reality. So I'm glad that people were energetic and not feeling so blue. And I also want to say happy Women's History Month.
Yes, to all the fabulous women out there,
Mhm.
happy Women's History Month and happy Women's History Month to you too. It's a very important month to observe, the plights that women of all cultures and nationalities have gone through to help make this country great. So I love this month.
Absolutely. It should be every month.
I know.
But you are beyond a comedian. You do everything from being an actress, TV personality, producer, even a podcaster. You have your own radio show, even dating back to being, I think it was Little Miss Detroit.
Yes. He's 72, baby.
But do you ever feel burnt out or, having so much work, that's what you thrive on?
Definitely. I'm what you call a multi hyphenate talent. And in this day and age, that's what you have to be. This is all I've ever wanted to do, Giselle, is just be an entertainer. There are some women, and we're talking about Women's History Month, we're allowed, luckily, in this country to decide what path we want to take. And the path that I've always wanted, I started out as an engineer and I worked as an engineer for 8 years, but then I decided I wanted to do something different and entertainment was the way for me. So this is just fulfilling my dream. Whether you hear me on the radio, you see me on television, you see me on a red carpet, you see me doing stand up live, you see me on Drag Race. This is what I've always wanted to do. It's a way of helping people to escape, is a way of helping people laugh. And that's what I love doing.
Well, we're happy that you chose the entertainment industry. And I do remember you talking about being an engineer, and you joke saying you're like, oh, I was like the most terrible engineer. But girl, that's STEM. I am terrible at science and math. Like, I was trying to study STEM, and my grades were like, I was getting D's in geometry. Like,
But you know what? This is the thing. When it came to doing my studies, I got my degree. And that's the thing, is that you could do anything if you put your mind to it. It's just that once I got that job, I was like, I don't want to be here. And that's what made me the worst engineer. It wasn't that I couldn't do the work. I just was like, I don't like this field anymore. And so I decided to get out of it. And a lot of people can't, afford to do that, but I could. So I see that as a blessing. But yeah, girl, I was the worst engineer. I was making all type of wrong mistakes. I was taking naps at lunchtime. My boss would have to come and get me. So finally, when there was a layoff, I said, you know what, please save someone else's job and lay me off. And he was like, this is a win-win for the company and you. I never looked back. That was in 2001, and I never looked back.
well, you definitely need your naps because I think you said you'd be working like over 12-hour shifts.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of hard work. Shout out to all of my blue collar workers, all of my white collar workers that's working. There's some hard workers. And, you got to remember back in that time, in the late 90s, the manufacturing was like the mainstay of America. So there was a lot of hours, a lot of work. Like I said, it helped to create this middle class. I believe in life, you have to find out what it is and ask your heart, are you happy? And if you're not happy, you try to make moves to find and fulfill yourself, to make your life happier. And that's what I did.
Yeah, I'm thinking back college. I was studying nutrition, which is part of STEM. And they're like, you got to take stats, you got to take, chemistry. And I'm like, I don't even eat healthy nutrition. Just before this call, I was eating like a bunch of fries.
But the thing is, though, too, because I do have the engineering degree, I'm able to go back. I'm able to, mentor young girls. I'm able to go to places like different corporations that deal with STEM, especially women in STEM, and I'm able to speak on it. So it didn't totally go to waste. My engineering degree is just that, for me, I went into a different field, but I'm definitely about women understanding who they are, what they want to be, and planning it. That's the most important message that I can get out there.
And let's talk about this woman because you were really close to her. She interviewed you, Joan Rivers. What a trailblazer in the comedy world. You also mentioned her in your book, and she gave you this advice saying, like, don't stop working because you will get forgotten. Do you feel like that was the best life advice that you ever gotten?
Definitely. I remember we were in her kitchen. She had gave me like this whole rundown of things because at that time I was an up and coming comic. And then I never forget, I will never ever forget her. She said, she says, that's all. And then she was about to walk out into her living room and she turned around. She said, no, let me tell you one more thing. She says, never take a break. When Hollywood is ready for you to get a break, you'll get one. And at that time, I didn't know what she meant. I kind of like had this dumb look on my face, like, what's she talking about? But now I understand what she meant. She meant take every opportunity. Nothing is too small. No interview is too small. No television show is too small. No, podcast, anything. So I take everything and I still remember that because there's going to come a time when people are not going to remember when you're not going to be on the A list or the B list or the D list. So when it's time, you'll get your break, but don't take a break.
Yeah, watching that interview, like it gave me chills, and she's absolutely right. And again, just you saying that, I appreciate you taking again your time to speak to this like little small radio personality. Now that you've done everything, have you said no? Like, have you used the power of saying no, or are you still a yes person?
I think that the only time I would say no is if I can't schedule it. I find it an honor for anybody, no matter where they are, to want to speak to me or want me to use my talents to help them. I was just on the Golden Bachelorette. They were like, can you just come on and help us judge? And I was like, yes. And you find out 80% of the win is just showing up. You show up, you've won 80%. The rest of the 20% is up to you. So I always tell that, especially to younger comics and everything, and people that are trying to find their way. If something's happening, just show up. And at least you've done that. So I believe in if it's in my schedule, if I can fit it in, yes. I mean, now there are certain things that, yeah, you need to say no to. I will be honest, there are going to be people that may ask you for certain things like money, like, your time or whatever. Yeah, then you have to make a decision as a grown adult and you say no, you know what I mean? But it's like, like I tell my cousins, I can't loan you money for your chicken and tire exchange. I'm not doing that. This is the third time I've given you money, Ray. I'm not doing it. So,
Right.
yes, I do say no, but it just depends.
Right. Also, like if someone's trying to have you pay for the tab, we're like, no.
Girl, that's the one thing too. When you get on television, everybody think you get to the restaurant, everybody that order drinks, they don't order appetizers, everything, and that bill come, they all looking at you. I'm like, wait, I didn't order all of this. So you have to learn, like, everybody put out their cards or put out some cash. Let's divide this up evenly.
I saw a funny post on Instagram and it was the Jesus's Last Supper, and they're like, why does every apostle look like they're complaining about pitching it?
That is funny because they expect everything to happen with the main person, but it's just funny how people are. So you decide and you figure out when to say no and when it's appropriate.
Gotcha. And okay, let's talk about your comedy show because you're having one on Wednesday, March 12th at Cobb's Comedy Club in San Francisco, and another one the very next day in Sacramento at Punchline as part of your A Time to Laugh tour. You know what? Good thing you're going to Sacramento this month and not in the summer because it's miserable.
I've been up there. It's been a while since I've been up there. This is my Time to Laugh comedy tour. I haven't been to Cobb's in years. I love San Francisco. I want all my gays to come out. I'm bringing my girl Vanessa Graddick, and for one show and one night, we're going to laugh about everything, and we have such a good time. And then we're going to go right on over there to the Punchline in Sacramento. And you're right. That's why I picked March. It's a great time to come. But this is part of my tour, and I just appreciate all the support that I've been given from people seeing me on RuPaul's Drag Race to all the even my old show The Real. I appreciate people, so this is my way of giving back to people by just coming out, saying some jokes. We can have some drinks. I know it's a Wednesday night, but we're gonna have some fun, honey, so bring everybody, bring your mama and your cousins.
Yeah, yeah. After work, come on, just relax, get a good laugh out of it.
Yes, because there's a lot to laugh at. I know people are feeling tense right now, but the way I design my shows, I know how to make people laugh. And, I think we need all of that. We need that exhale right now.
Okay, without too much spoilers, can you give us maybe possible themes of what to expect?
Oh, yeah, I talk about everything from current events, what I saw at the Oscars, what I saw at the Grammys, what's happening politically, what's happening with myself. So nothing is off limits for me. And, ends up being just a great, fun time. I mean, like, it's a lot happening in the world, but we're going to make it. We're going to make it because we're Americans. And I think, I have everybody in my shows too. I have the gays, I have blacks, I have whites, I have conservatives, I have Democrats. And, at the end, I think that I present a message that lets people know that, things are going to be okay. And things will be okay. It's much better than what we heard the other night from President Trump. He think he funny. I'm funnier.
Absolutely. Well, if your stand up in San Francisco and Sacramento is anything like America's Sister, I'm going to laugh hysterically.
Thank you so much. I need to do another stand-up special. So I've been working so much, I can't do. Everybody's doing stand-up specials, but I like going out because my comedy is so current. It's like it's not old. It's like stuff that happened maybe last night. I'll bring it to the stage, and that comes from writing. That comes from when I was on my talk show, The Real. I would have to come up with material every day. So that's why I'm able to just come up with material and people like, oh, wow, you're talking about this. This just happened. Well, that's what writers do and comedians do. We just do it on the fly.
Let's piggyback on what you mentioned earlier, when we were talking about Joan Rivers and you were an up and coming comedian then. What would be your advice or like what do you look for in comedians nowadays?
I choose different types of comics to open for me. The young lady that's opening for me next week is her name is Vanessa Graddick. She's up and coming. She's a writer. She's written for television. I like her voice. I like what she stands up for herself. She talks about dating. She talks about life. So, what I love about comedy right now is that there are different types of comedians. You have your social media comedians who, bring us laughter and joy their way. But then there's still the old school stand up comics that I think people need to realize there's a big difference. The old school stand up comics can stand there for an hour and give you a show. And that's what I've been doing all my life. And those comics are needed now more than ever because I think people are just so tense. They want to hear something from somebody. And so that's why you see so many people. Like right now, I'm on a national tour with Martin Lawrence. And we all know Martin Lawrence is that old head, a legendary comic. We know him from his show, Martin. But when he hits the stage, it's like another part of him. And so I'm so happy to be, on a tour with him because it expands my audience. But to all the young comics that's coming up, you have so many different avenues. You can, create a special and put it on YouTube and you get more people to follow you. But then when you get into the live space, they don't necessarily want to hear those same jokes. So hopefully you write so that you write different material so that it's a little different and it gives the audience another perspective of you. So right now is a great time for comedy and I think everybody is feeling that right now.
And you keep talking about even encouraging your fans, like always write in your journal. Always think of like Bridget Jones. Just
Yeah, you got to write. Sometimes it's better to write than cut somebody out. Okay. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're mad. You go to your journal and write down. I always say that. I encourage that. Everybody has a story. And a lot of things that you see online, like, when you see people posting certain videos or things, like they just had the lady that was twerking. She was a stewardess and she's twerking on the plane. And she lost her job because she was twerking on the plane in the uniform. And it's like, girl, you need a journal. You don't need to be in your uniform, especially if you know the type of company you work for is very like poo poo poo. No, we ain't twerking on our plane in our uniform. Girl, you need a journal. You should have like journaled something and
especially
maybe
what you've
calm
been
down.
seeing in the news about the planes.
Yes. It's like no wonder the plane. You know what I'm saying? See, this is the kind of stuff I talk about. Like, why would you do that? It's like we got all these planes falling in the sky and you over here twerking. Okay, girl.
Let's talk about this other comedian because you were on his podcast a long time ago, Bob Saget. And even though he's originally not from San Francisco, we claim him because of Full House. Can you share any memories or maybe what he meant to you as a comedian or a friend?
Let me tell you, Bob Saget was one of the premier comics. And when I talk about like he was on the show Full House, we loved him. And then, but his stand up was totally different from his sitcom character. When I first started, I used to be the MC down here in Los Angeles on the strip for the Laugh Factory. And I would have to bring Bob Saget up. And people were, you should see the faces because everybody was like, oh my God, Bob Saget, Bob Saget. And then Bob Saget gets up there and goes beep, beep, bop, bop, beep, beep, all this cussing there. And the look on some people's faces was like, oh my, and he was hilarious, but he was totally like himself. He was totally not that clean cut comic. And so that's what surprised people so much. And I would love it. He would love it all the time. He had a show on CMT, the country music station called it was called Country Squares. And so he had me on as one of the squares. And every time we were together, he was just real. He was funny. And it was just a shock to hear about his passing. And his wife, Kelly, is just, keeping his legacy alive. And that's what we're all trying to do is keep Bob's legacy alive because he is exactly what we all wanted to be. As a comic, we want to, get on television, make a lot of money, still do the road. That's what Bob did. He fulfilled his dream, but he is surely, surely missed.
Absolutely. Yeah, I got teary-eyed when I heard the news. And I have seen his stand-up. It's like a culture shock. Like, what? Danny Tanner said this?
Yes. Danny Tanner is not Danny Tanner. He Danny
Mhm.
T on
Right.
the stage.
Yeah, he was such a great actor too. Okay, so I might go to England this summer, which I know you've been, and you also say you're 10% British.
Yes.
Any places I should visit in England?
Oh, definitely. If you go to London, you can go to the West End. You can hit a show. There are plenty of shows there. There's a Michael Jackson musical that's really good out there. Also, you can go. You go to the traditional places. Buckingham Palace. You go see Big Ben. Who's like not my boyfriend, but just a plot. And, there are a lot of historical places. I love London. I really, really do.
Okay, I'm looking forward to my trip then. And I saw on your story that you checked out the what was it, the opening night of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Now, if you were a wizard, what would your power be?
Oh, my power would be having that invisible cloak so I could be nosy.
Yeah.
And I can just walk in and see all the people that's talking about me, or I can see what's happening with Blake Lively and Justin Baldini.
Oh my gosh.
I want to be nosy, so that's the kind of stuff I would do. I want to be invisible.
I would have the invisible cloak and be hella clumsy. But I honestly think your superpower is comedy because you're making me laugh hysterically. I remember you on Chelsea lately, and then also seeing you on like the VH1 MTV when they would do like the countdowns. But I agree. I think you should have your own Netflix special. You should have your own sitcom. And Joan Rivers told you, she's like, you're gonna make it, girl. You're in it for the long haul.
Definitely. Well, all of that stuff is in the works. It's all because of my fans who come and support me, and everything that I do, they always support me, and I just appreciate them. So that's why I'm making this tour to see them live and in person, and we want everybody to come on out, and we'll keep on working.
All right, come on out to San Francisco. That is happening on Wednesday, March 12th, and then on Thursday, March 13th in Sacramento at the Punchline. Lonnie,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you for your time. This was so fun. You are great.
I'm gonna go check out your show in San Francisco at the Cobb's Comedy Club.
Thank you, dear. I'll
All
see you
right,
there.
bye.